So, welcome to the first unofficial podcast of the Filthy Few. Welcoming our special friend tonight, Mr. RAF. Welcome,
Hello.
my friend.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, man. Thanks for. I'm glad we.
Even though
I'm
I
glad
invited myself right before you.
No.
Me.
But, well, I mean, I decided to turn this into a podcast. You know what I mean, and just kind of explore that because you were speaking. When I do my streams, sometimes we talk about we philosophize and stuff like that, and I've and you messaged me and you're like, dude, there's a lot of the things that you're talking about that you say you've come up with that like these established philosophers have already said.
These aren't my
that's
ideas. I'll make it clear when it's my idea, because then it's up for debate. And usually I'll have great ideas, like I have my best ideas, and then I go read up on the subject, and I'll discover that somebody already wrote books and books about it.
So
agreeing with me, but 50 years ago,
Right. And how interesting is that? Because also, keep in mind, we're not, people weren't inundated with all this technology and shit around them back then. So you've got to think that there was some pretty fucking
did read more. They did read a lot more, so they go deeper into a certain subject.
Well, they didn't have other distractions as well. You know what I mean? It's like they are just left to their thoughts, pretty much.
And they didn't have the word workaholic, and a lot of them were.
Sure. Well, I mean, when you think again, no distraction. Stuff like that, or much less. It's like, you're going to want, the human mind's going to want to fixate on something.
Yeah.
All that shit is very interesting to me. Like lately, I think, oh, that's what it was. And I'm so glad. Okay. So it wasn't Sir Edmund Hillary, but if you'll give me just a moment, I'm going to look something up here. Right. So there was... Shackleton. Okay. So I guess, this is Smithsonian, and I guess this is debunked now. But there is there's an explorer called Ernest Shackleton. And this dude was fucking, he was a loke. He, I mean, I'll explain briefly after, but the thing that got me onto this was my dad was telling me about this story about this gentleman who published an ad seeking men for a hazardous journey. And the ad read as followed: men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. Ernest Shackleton. God damn. Like, what a fucking ad, right? So apparently the way I heard it was, no, quite the opposite. The way I heard it was like, he just got this unprecedented response. But now I'm reading an article from
when was this?
This was 1920. I forget, something like this. 1922.
I'd guess. Yeah.
Oh, no. Shackleton died in 1922. My bad. So I'm actually, yeah. Well, definitely early 1900s. So yeah, man. But this guy, I would implore you to do some research on this guy, because again, like, these are the guys that they blow my mind, because you have to think that to the normal person, mostly all that shit is like, there's just too much fear. It's like, I'm not gonna, the bravery of some of these motherfuckers, like, whether I don't know if they're even lunatics, you know what I mean? But the level of bravery to go explore the South Pole or the North Pole during the 1900s, you know what I mean? It's like absolutely crazy. And they had to eat. There was an expedition in which him and his crew had to eat their fucking snow dogs, dude.
Wow.
They got stuck in the ice for 8 months, and then they had to camp on the ice. Their ship got stuck in the ice for 8 months or something like that. I don't know.
Can you
Crazy
imagine?
shit, dude. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, it's obviously a different mindset back then. You know, you're deemed to a finite set of things.
They weren't. I would guess they weren't as afraid of death as we are. Like they
That's interesting. Talk about that. Why?
Because people died from like, dude, you could die from a paper cut, you know.
Right. So I mean, wouldn't that make people right? Wouldn't that make people more scared?
No, because they would see it more. But I'm just guessing here. There's like
sure, of course, and I get that.
Just an assumption.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole
were
thing.
More religious too. They'd be more comforted that there's life, there's something after, you know. So it's like, okay, I've been a good Christian up until now, you know. If I die,
so then, is there a difference between men and women today that, let's say, would be explorers or something like that? I think there wouldn't be. I think there's plenty of people who would volunteer to go to Mars. You know what I mean? And that's, I don't give a fuck where our technology is like right now. Like, that's a dangerous fucking mission. That's a dangerous fucking mission.
Yeah, it's like the most dangerous I think ever, right? I would guess.
And you
don't know anything really.
Right.
There could be Martians with like, you know, disintegrating rifles, like from
Dread my ZX3H modulator.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
There could be
fucking Marvin the Martian just perusing about.
Yeah.
Bum,
There's
bum,
nothing that
bum,
disproves
bum,
that.
bum,
So.
bum. What's that?
Mean, I know it's ridiculous, but you know, there's many hazards that they're gonna face that we don't even know. You know?
Well, think about it. I mean, think of that just merely on the planet Earth right now. There's what you just said.
Yeah,
it's happening all the time. So imagine exactly. So
imagine in another planet, you know, there could be a hazard in your block. There could be somebody that's doing, you know, like crazy shit, and you have no idea. You know. And
well, that's another thing Mars, too. Is like, yeah,
what are the problems that you could face in this journey? You know. Like,
wasn't there something that the governments agreed that space would be a shared thing? Or am I tripping? I think I'm tripping. But there was something.
But that's now that, like, there's no direct profit that comes from space. Once you start bringing in money from space, then, well, that's going to change, you know?
Jesus Christ, dude.
It's kind of like America. Like they say that they already knew that there was another continent because of ancient Viking stories and whatever, but
northern, like Canada.
Yeah,
the islands just northeast of Canada, correct?
Yeah, there's this guy that actually came by rowboat. He crossed the Atlantic Ocean.
Motherfucking rowboat?
Yeah.
How the fuck do you do that, dude? And how long does that take?
In Brazil.
Are you serious?
From Africa to Brazil on a rowboat.
Oh shit! Yeah. Where was he from initially, and when was this?
Oh, it was Amir Klink. I think he's German. It was a German.
Oh, okay. So this is contemporary, but still, that's crazy.
I thought you were. It's like 100 years ago.
Oh yeah. Okay. Wow. But that's still fucking impressive. Yeah. But like, you know, just as far as fuck,
it might be a sailboat. It might be.
Yeah, I would. That's what I would assume. It's a rowboat. I don't know about that, dude.
Like fish.
But it's you know, it's interesting because it's like I'm a Star Trek buff, like basically the old series. I'm not like a Trekkie or a Trekker, but I'm a fan and I enjoy it. You know, the thing that I liked about, you know, just as a little segue, the thing that I liked more about the old Star Trek as opposed to the newer Star Treks, Like,
Oh
look,
no,
Gene
he's
Roddenberry.
alive.
Who?
Amir Klink.
Oh shit. Well, there you go. So this was very contemporary. But it was edgy and gritty, and you didn't know, like, if a main character was you didn't know what was gonna happen. And that's what was lacking in fucking television for so many decades. And they finally got wind of that. That's okay. They finally got.
I have ADD too.
No, that's okay, brother. They got, the industry kind of got wind of it, and especially with like Game of Thrones, stuff like that. Like, people want to see art imitating life, and what happens is life is, feasibly we're on this seat of our edge of our seats. You know what I mean?
We imitate art. So because we see art and it's like, oh, I want to do that, And
art is a very powerful tool.
Yeah, and science fiction, there's a link between science fiction and inventions also.
Oh, of course. Well, that's what I was gonna say about Star Trek, is that that's, you could definitely see that in actual, like, NASA, and stuff like that, warp theory, all that shit, like, and not to say that the warp theory wasn't around before then, but it puts it into the mainstream with an entertaining spin. And then you've got fans, and you've got these kids who want to be astronauts because of Star Trek. But what I was gonna say initially was, it's amazing how, we explored the Earth. We're still exploring the Earth, so on and so forth. But the infiniteness of space and how vast it is, and the possibilities, when you look at, like, the crazy alien looking life we have on the planet, and just extremophiles and different environments, and things can thrive in these toxic environments, and so on and so forth. Like, the premise in Star Trek of so many different storylines being possible to be played out with different kinds of life and situations, and so on and so forth. I think there's a definite plausibility to that, right? Probably not going to ever discover anything like that, but I can almost guarantee you shit like that is going on in the universe in different places.
Yeah, probably not in our lifetime, because
I don't believe so either. Though I do believe we're going to discover life. Yeah. I believe we're going to discover life through organic molecules and other things. It's not going to be, it'd be like bacteria, shit like that, right?
Yeah. And there's actually, in Earth, there's non-carbon based life forms. They found one in a volcano. There's this bacteria. It's actually sulfur based. It's not carbon based.
Holy shit. So when I was, and I'm
simple bacteria, but
yeah, I'm pretty ignorant about this, but there you go, right there. That's exceptional. I'm pretty ignorant about this stuff. But when I studied astrobiology, the professor would talk about, and again, I'm ignorant, so I'm probably going to butcher a lot of shit. But basically, we, as carbon-based life forms, the carbon atoms or molecules stick together easily. And I'm putting this in like kindergarten terms. This is the way I understand it. The bonds are strong, kind of thing, right? So the other possibility of life that he was talking about was silicon based. And it was like the problem with silicon based is those bonds, as more and more things get added on, those bonds get weaker and weaker, right? So hearing something about a sulfur based thing is like, whoa, okay, what's that about then? Isn't it? That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Another thing that we were talking about recently was this Harvard professor, more specifically the profession that this Harvard professor thinks that an alien sail was sailing through our solar system in 2017. With the asteroid, the name of like Oumuamua or some shit like that. Pardon me. I know I'm butchering it. And I actually contacted, hold on one second. I think you went out. Hold on. Did you just dip out of the whole? No, you're still in here. I just can't hear you. That's interesting. Yeah, it's you, dude. Something happened. Oh, you can't hear. So let me stop this real quick. Let me save this. So you were talking about, how it's crazy because there's this sulfur-based bacteria, which is a life form. And I went on to tell you that even though I'm going to butcher this and I understand it on a very base level, that in astrobiology, my professor would talk about, the possibility of silicon-based life forms. And we, as carbon-based life forms, the molecular bonds that are there are pretty strong. And when you start dealing with these theoretical silicon-based life forms, the more stuff you put onto the molecule, the weaker the shit gets, right? And I don't really understand that. But so it's intriguing that you said there's actually a sulfur-based life form.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, because there's so much sulfur and the volcanoes that they adapted and evolved into not using carbon but using sulfur, and so they can actually survive inside the volcanoes.
Right. And we as humans probably initially came from deep water fissures where the energy was actually coming from the core of the planet instead of being warmed by the sun. It's just it's interesting shit. And we've talked about this before as well, like I agree with you. I think we are going to find life outside of the planet within our lifetime, and it's going to be simple. And I believe it's possible, even though I hate that I say this and I hate that I kind of lean towards it. I think it's possible we'll never find other intelligent life out there ever because the universe is so fucking vast.
And
there's a great
that they already found us, but I know it sounds kind of cliche to say this, but the way we treat each other, they see how we treat like people that are our own species the way we do, and they might just want to, they might be afraid.
Well, they're 1,020%. Well, I mean, okay, like with that level of technology, they would actually have nothing to be afraid of. Like, but on the other side of things, there could be,
might be afraid
we might not be thinking of tangibles or something like that, right? Like we could just because of the way we are, we could be emotionally threatening to them, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that, just like out of the box, something we can't think of,
Yeah, but then this undoubtedly is going to get into speculations one way or another
because it's aliens. Dun dun dun. Another thing,
just like dogs,
Well, I think it would be much more of a fucking disparity. You know what I mean? Like it's like things of that level that are probably like bending space-time or some shit that's inconceivable to me to get here or whatever. They would be on such a level, it would be like, us dealing with ants. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, and these things are fucking expendable too. That's another thing. You look at the animal kingdom on the earth, right? And again, the vastness of the universe and the probable life out there, and probably there's fucking intelligent life out there and crazy battles, Star Wars type shit. Who knows, man? It's got to be if it's that vast, which is just fantastic, right? Because there's also that thing that people say where like if what is it? If something is possible, it eventually comes true. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's Murphy's Law, actually.
Right, Murphy's Law. Wait, I thought Murphy's Law was fuck, man. I'm having a brain fart right now.
If something can happen, it will.
Right, if something can happen, it will. Okay, so let's talk about that because I've always had a problem with that. Like I've always personally had an issue with that. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Really. Yeah, it's silly, but
Because it's
it
absolutely yeah, but no,
works, but
dude. There's
like,
never there's never
confirmation bias though.
But there's never going to be a fucking Shadowrun baby born on this earth. Ever. It will never happen on this earth. There will not be an elf born to a human. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's just shit that's never going to happen. So
That's
that's
impossible.
the issue I have with that. And I know there's much smarter people talking about
there are
Murphy's
people
Law.
with pointy shaped ears, you know.
But I'm not talking about
elves.
that. I'm talking about like real magic will never happen on this earth. It's not going to happen.
This is my beliefs. Like, this is my belief, but I think that magic is actually something that does happen, but
it's explained by science.
It can be explained by the science that we don't have yet, you know?
Right. So that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like James Ramsey type. I'll give you $1 million if you could bend this fucking spoon with your mind, dude. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, it's not going to happen.
With my hand, and I could say,
sure.
well, I used my mind power.
We're not bantering semantics here. You know? No, we're not talking semantics here, though. We're talking about like I have a problem, like me being an ignorant fuck and not the brightest person. I have a problem with Murphy's Law. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I understand like what it's coming from, because with my brain, I realize that there's infinite infinities, and there's bigger and smaller infinities. Like, I've deduced this myself.
Infinitudes.
Right. So and that shit does make sense to me, right? And when we're talking about that, okay, if we're talking about that, I don't even know if Murphy's Law, because if you have a finite set of parameters, no matter how vast they are, there's still that finite set of parameters that is going to dictate that a certain thing can't happen. You understand what I'm saying? Even if you put it in infinite terms, even if you do that infinitely, like our physics on this earth right now permit us to only do certain things bound by these laws of physics. And what I'm trying to say is those laws of physics are never going to break on this plane of existence. Ever.
Probably not.
Right. So that's the problem I have with Murphy's Law, because Murphy's Law says, yes, it will. Well, maybe in a different infinity, like maybe on a different Earth. That's fine. I can dig that.
Yeah, and maybe it already.
But then I'm contradicting myself as well, I think. Like, why on a different Earth than this Earth?
It's going to break in 1 billion years, but you don't know. So the thing is, like, what's practical? Like, when you think about
to have a good time all the time. That's my philosophy, Marty. You know? Sorry. But what were you saying?
That's the only practical thing we have from these assumptions and discussions, that people were like, a lot of people were dominated by, and are dominated by, these discussions that lead nowhere.
You mean like the discussion we're having right now? I think the more we philosophize, the more we actually do understand about the universe around us. Like, we were talking
lost, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
metaphysics.
So besides metaphysics,
I'm not saying you're lost. You're far from lost in that. I'm not criticizing you or.
Bro, I want to believe in that shit. I'm like an avid role player. Like, I used to role play. You know, I want to be a magic user. That would be the best thing ever. However,
to me,
you know, considering where I am, I want the truth. Is better for me pragmatically. The truth can better me instead of living in a fucking fantasy land.
Because, you know, if there are many dimensions and one is created in every decision you make and whatever, how does that change your life, you know?
I mean, so speaking
of, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to eat, you're gonna have to, you know, get shelter, you're gonna have to shit, you're gonna have to fuck, you're gonna, you know, or not.
So So I would assume that if there is other dimensions that we create when we make certain decisions, that there is a through thread, correct? These dimensions are connected in some sort of way, correct?
It's speculation.
Of course.
I can't prove.
Right.
It could
I would
be a
assume
connection in the past. But the past doesn't exist anymore.
But they are connected with a through line. Otherwise, you couldn't deviate from that initial path. That's what I'm saying.
It's logic. It's just logic.
Right. So here's my question. So here's my question.
On material.
If we make another dimension unintentionally by making these decisions, and there is a through line that I've just exhibited that there is, otherwise you couldn't have that offshoot, can we affect dimensions through that through line? Ooh. You know what I mean? Like,
if we can, if we discover a way, and to affect a different dimension to bring something back, then it's going to be practical.
Interesting. So you're talking about actual, like, bringing a tangible back from another dimension.
Yeah, to bring.
That's cray. I love it.
Oh, I'm sending energy to this other dimension.
Right. I've got one question, the ref. One question. I've got one question. Can I fuck it? Welcome to the Filthy Few Podcast. So, what are your thoughts on this this sale that apparently, that this Harvard professor, his theory is that an alien sail passed through our solar system in 2017 under the guise of a meteor. Pardon me. And I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. But you know what? Filthy, can you look that up for me, please? Oh, of course, Filthy. All right, hold on.
Where's Jamie?
Meteor.
Where the fuck's Jamie?
It's like, right?
I could tell you, but you're not going to like it. Because my answer is probably...
So the professor's name is Avi Loeb, and I believe actually he was on Joe Rogan. So I have to actually look at that because now I'm connecting things. I think he was on Joe Rogan, who I love, but I don't listen to anymore because Spotify, I got hacked or some shit. And I can't get into my account, and Spotify's like, and I'm like, I'm not going to use your shit, dick ass. You want me as a customer, and I miss Joe Rogan. But him, okay. I'm going to butcher this. Oumuamua. Habubula. Da 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 da. Habubula. Da 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 da. That's Fijian. Don't worry about it. Don't ask how I know it. I just know it. Maua. Okay, so that's yes.
Uka.
Oompa loompa doopa dee dee. So that was intriguing to me. Of course, if someone's going to Harvard, they're most probably smarter than me, and I'm gonna listen to what they say. But you obviously have to keep healthy skepticism with all this stuff, especially with this shit. It's just like, this is my shit. Like, I'm like, fuck, man, if this was real, that would be good. So I texted a astrophysicist on Twitter who I respect a lot. She's very cool. And she was like, nah, it's complete bullshit. And I was like, fuck, dude. Yeah. And I kind of just believed her right off the bat. But
I have things to add.
Right. So, I mean, I guess his thing is like, most comets, when their ice burns off from the sun's heat and energy, it propels them forward. And this thing did not act in accordance with the patterns that objects like that exhibit. And it didn't slow down and speed up like normal comets and stuff. But again, as we talked about on the stream,
so something
twitch.tv/TheFilthyJester. Sorry about that. That happens sometimes. disappointing, but it's probably just, obviously something we can't really explain, but we'll be able to eventually. Again, one thing that I'm fucking
aliens is
exactly right. And this brings me to the subject of this world being berated by sensationalism right now in every fucking aspect, and how we need to keep science fucking pure, dude. It's imperative right now. Of course it's been tainted.
You need funding, and how do you get funding?
Right. Okay. So again, it's like scientists who will kind of like fuck around with their shit to get more money. It's just like the most. It's
like,
well, look what the anti-vax shit happened.
Oh yeah, but that's not science. That's completely different. That's just
no, but it was a doctor trying to fucking further his own fucking pursuits.
Yeah, but
at the cost of. I know.
It's just because it's a scientist doesn't mean what he's doing is science.
No, I totally agree.
Harvard guy is doing is actually science, and it's actually to get attention, but it's still science because.
Right. So you believe that's his motivation, is that he knows he's kind of full of shit, but he wants the attention. Fuck that guy then.
He said alien. It's like
right,
aliens,
exactly, and that's what I'm talking about.
Somebody
and again,
says aliens, everybody looks.
Right, and, like the Venetian sky people. It's like, no, stop doing this, guys.
Yeah, and I saw this the other day. Like, I respect people's beliefs and everything, but some things are just ridiculous, Like, I'm not gonna hate you because you believe in something. I saw this like Zodiac for like the Anunnaki Zodiac thing, and I was like, what the fuck?
Character from Star Wars.
It's like, and it's divided in 12, just as the other Zodiac is. And it's like, it's a horoscope that's even more bullshit. The regular
that's another interesting subject, but people just believe this shit, and it's some of it is fucking trippy. Like me as a Libra, I've always been into justice. As a Libra, I've always been like I've always been the scales. Sure, not everybody, but not everybody could say that's a definitive. Like, I'm the type of person when I was younger and like some of my homies wanted to rat pack someone we didn't know, I'd throw one of my homies off and be like, let them go one-on-one. That's always the type of person I've been. You know what I mean? So that takes it to another level.
Yeah, but then, like, I don't want to disprove horoscopes, but I mean, like, okay, what you're saying, first of all, is confirmation bias, because, okay, 100%. You are. It's one of the things I wanted to talk to you, because one of the things was the meaning of life, and the other thing was love also that I want to talk to you about. And this one brings, like, touches on the subjects.
Well, the meaning of life is love.
The meaning of life. Oh, it could be. And
very well could be, my friend.
One of the things, I don't remember, I think it was Heidegger that said this, or was it what's the other guy's name? I keep forgetting. Whatever. Said that if I tell you you are something, that means you always are. So if I say you are pretty, it means you're pretty all the time. You're never not pretty, But if I tell you you're not pretty, it means you're always ugly. You can't. So if you are, then you are all the time. If you aren't, you aren't ever. Because, like, some people say, "Oh, I'm shy. I'm so shy." But then you put a microphone in their hand, and they're like singing their hearts out,
Yeah, but that's an exception.
Like, okay,
that's a huge exception.
You are shy. Oh, but then, yeah, but
most people who say they're very shy will never do that ever.
Yeah, because those people are shy. So if you're not shy in the microphone, I'll say, well, but you're not always shy. So you can explore that the way you act when you have a microphone in your head. And like, okay, why don't you just act like walk around with a microphone? You know,
fear. We are ruled by fear and sex.
Yeah, and then you can, yeah, but then you can evolve from that, you know, and then you can work with that. But okay,
I don't want to evolve from sex. I haven't had it in so long. I forget what it is.
I'm saying like in therapy, you know, like, is it something it's part of you, or is something that's holding you back, you know? Because being shy is okay, it's no problem,
sure.
And you can do whatever you want being shy. But if you have a problem with that, and you feel better, and you feel more yourself.
Well, so okay, so I can give you an allegory for that, which is my acting career and being fucking completely debilitated by nervousness and still being a good actor under that. Like objectively, I'm definitely thought I was a lot better than I was.
Anxiety is what propels.
But here's the thing:
anxiety.
No. See, that's not my experience. Like, no, anxiety is the great debilitator for me, the predominance of my life. I've learned to change that.
Yeah, but that's anxiety.
But hold on. Before we get
okay.
Before we get off, like it's as for the acting thing, I have to act. I have no choice, right? Yeah. Or I have to perform. I have to entertain. It's fucking me. But the juxtaposition is I'm debilitated. I think more than most with nervousness and so on and so forth. That all comes from ego and people's scrutiny of me. Like I get that, but I'm just saying it's like kind of in relation to what you're talking about. Is like I have to do this thing.
It's not healthy.
Right? But like here's
pain.
But I can work through it. Right. But I can work through it and become a better person and become a better actor when I start realizing, hey, this is about my motherfucking ego and the impression that I want to give people, and I'm not staying true to the character at all if that's the case.
Yeah.
So it is helpful, but it's fucked. Anyway. So
it hurts.
It does, dude. Anxiety, all that shit. Well, so,
but that's
I was born with a breathing problem. I was born with an underdeveloped trachea. So for the first 5 years of my life, they didn't know if I'd survive. So it's like my parents would have to take me into the shower every night because I couldn't fucking breathe. So, where was I going with this?
I had bronchitis, so
I've had that a few times too. I forget where I was going with that, but yeah.
We were talking about semantics before, and semantics, it's very important sometimes because it's the way we develop is around semantics. We are smarter, you can say we are smarter than most other animals, or all other animals, because we have language, and language makes us evolve. Like it physically alters our brains and the way we think because we have language. So
yeah, absolutely.
And
again,
me,
it's that whole thing.
I didn't want it.
Yeah, dude. See, right. I mean, look. It's like they say, like, someone from fucking the 30s would look at our technology now and really consider it all magic.
Really, yeah. What we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's another interesting thing too, because I was born in 1975, and for me right now, experiencing 2020 is really a fascinating thing, because for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm in the future because of technology and just, you know what I mean? And like, look, it's absolutely, it's crazy. It's no wonder that Facebook took off the way it was. We are social creatures. That's us. That is the crux of us, is social. You know what I mean? So phones, like I'm thinking about the same thing. I'm thinking
we're part social, and we're part
anus,
soul, which is psyche. Psyche.
So
we're part psyche. We're part
so
social,
psyche. So psyche and soul is
psyche
is there a difference for you?
Culturally, yes, but
well, like, is there's a definitive, because there's a definitive thing called the psyche, but is there a definitive thing called the soul that's different?
A word
for you.
It's a word in Greek that means soul, and it also means butterfly.
But for us, in English, it means our psychology.
Yeah, because the psychologists.
So I'm asking you if you believe there's a difference.
Differentiate it from the religious aspect, because there's this thing in psychology which is trying to make it a science as much as possible.
Make what a science? Sorry.
Psychology a science, because it grew out of religion.
Did it?
Bloomed. Yeah, it bloomed when people got less religious, and they felt.
That's crazy. Void. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, wait, hold on. I thought Freud. I mean, there are people going way deeper before then, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, you have what's his name? Saint Augustus.
Yeah.
Aquinas. I don't know.
Oh wait, are you talking about fucking the Roman fucking?
It's he was a Roman Catholic. He was
Marcus Aurelius. Fucking what's his name?
No.
Octavian.
No.
What's his name?
Saint Thomas Aquinas. Yeah.
Oh, Saint Thomas Aquinas. Okay, I'm familiar with the name.
Yeah. I haven't studied much of him, but actually did very bad in the test that he came up. But I still passed.
So in regard, do you believe that our psychology and our soul is the same thing, or do you believe there's a difference? Like, do you believe they are different things?
The psychology, the way it is now, takes into consideration also the social aspects and the biological aspects. So it's different, but it's the same, you know.
But my question to you is there, though it be ethereal, I'm probably going to sound like such an idiot. Though it be ethereal, is there like a tangible thing called the soul? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there a separate like thing that is the fucking soul? Is what I'm asking you. That is separate from the human psychology and biology and so on and so forth.
As a scientist, I'll tell you, it doesn't matter. But
that's not a scientific answer.
I think there is. Yeah.
Personally, you think there is?
Oh,
okay.
It doesn't matter because there's a huge filter, and if it would exist, it'd be somewhere else where we have no way to prove it. And since we have bigger questions that we can, touch.
If we survive for a few thousand years, we're gonna do some fucking crazy shit.
I have a friend that's, once the pandemic is over, she's going over to New York on a scholarship to get her doctorates. And what she's doing is stimulating the brain with electrodes, like with very small stimulation. Like I've done the test, you can't feel anything. Some people feel a little bit tingling, a bit burning, and to see if you stimulate certain parts of the brain, will it affect our behavior?
I would assume so, since the signals are electric anyway, right?
Oh yeah, but how does it affect? And this goes deep, and it doesn't affect all the time. So,
see, to me, it's like that's very fascinating what she's doing, but to me, I guarantee you, she's like 18 times smarter than me. But to me, as in science, it's like, I know you're fucking around and stuff, but the human brain is so fucking complex. It's like a Pandora's box to me, right? Like
it is.
It
actually is Pandora's box.
Yeah, so you stimulate it, and it's like, oh, this happens, right? But what other million other things are happening when you just did that?
Yeah, and it's
right.
It's one of the other things that plague psychologists is when we're trying to be scientists is that we cannot isolate. There's no way to isolate a variable. There's no way. Not even if you created freaking Truman Show and had somebody born into a controlled environment that be washed 24 hours a day, you could, because there's still the
there's no way, right? No, the ruse would be up when he was like 4, dude. You know what I mean? He'd figure out when he was like fucking 4. Great movie though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I was talking about how I saw this documentary that was actually pretty riveting, and I thought it would be bullshit, and it very well might be. It was really compelling, but it was talking about the soul, and it opened up with this kid who believed he was a World War II pilot that got shot down. And the way him and his family were, now again, I've been an actor for many years, and I'm pretty good at telling when I can tell pretty well when people are acting. Then again, there's been times where people have been pretty fucking convincing, and I'm like, and it's been proven that they were, bullshitting. But either way, watching this documentary, I was pretty compelled by this kid. And they were on there to tell their story. It wasn't for attention. It was obvious. And it was just
kid was calling for attention.
No. One of the quotes, and this is what was so compelling to me. It's just an instance just like this. He's like, look, I talk about it if people want to talk to me about it, but it's not something I put out there. And that's just one example of many reasons why I was like, dude, this sounds fucking legit, and it's crazy. Like how his parents,
the kid's ego developing.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. The scientist in me, again, if God came down and said, Filthy, you've got to make a choice. Did this really happen or didn't it? I would have to say it didn't, just because there's not enough scientific evidence out there, generally speaking, in regard to reincarnation and stuff like that. But anyway, I want to just explain this real quick.
But what it is to be something, right? What is it to be a World War II pilot? If you put this kid in a cockpit, will he be able to fly a plane?
Yes, there was a lot of crazy shit. Like, you should watch the documentary. But as it proceeded, it started talking about other things, and I was like, I like how they were talking science. Like, they were talking a lot of science, and it came to this point where this guy is an anesthesiologist, and he was fucking. You listen to him talk, and he's like, "Well, I've isolated this and that," and I'm like, "Okay, this guy's a genius. You could just hear it by his articulation." So he was explaining how even with anesthesia, I can't speak. We don't really know what happens to the consciousness. Like, the person is there, and again, you could do like that electrode stimulating, and it will stimulate parts of the brain, so the person is still there, but it's almost like the consciousness isn't, and they don't know because it's not sleep. It's like, apparently it's like kind of not what happens when we sleep either. And he said he had isolated a tangible area in the brain with these little like spinules or whatever that were triggered when the anesthesia happened, right? And it basically came to the fact that his theory was that quantumly, when we die, the consciousness goes somewhere else. And my biggest fear of death is the loss of conceptual thought.
Where the scientist ends, and that's where the personal speculation comes in.
I will give you that. I will definitely give you that. It definitely gave me some solace, though. I was like, well, I hope that's true. And it definitely, well, I mean, it's also like, you look at the second law of the conservation of energy, right? That energy cannot be created nor destroyed, just passed on from one form to another. And I believe this is where science and spirituality coincide. And I believe as we progress further with science and spirituality coinciding, I think that'll be best for the human race.
There's this way of seeing the human body as purely a chemical reaction occurring, in a chain chemical reaction, and that's the way that it's most perceived right now. But I'm not saying it's the best way. It's a reductionism to the material world, you know. But so in that aspect, then if nothing happens, then there is a conservation of matter and of energy, because all the energy is inside the chemical bonds, and that will deteriorate when our body starts to deteriorate.
Right, but does that contradict the law? Like,
else, then that,
wait,
that would
so
happen.
are you saying? Hold on, are you saying that everything? Are you saying that the energy dissipates, or we don't know where it goes?
The chemical energy dissipates into the ground, or into flames if you're cremated, or
interesting, yeah,
whatever.
Interesting.
If you're in outer space, then it's going to stay there, you know, and it's going to dissipate into the void. Actually.
The void. Yeah, dude, that's fucking depressing.
But the thing is, that's. But then you have the variable that we don't know, which is, well, is it a thing? Is this an actual thing? And where does it go? And that's the question. And if it goes somewhere else, if it stays here, and then you get into
let me ask you, there's absolutely no circumstance of the scientific community disproving the second law of thermodynamics, correct? Or conservation of energy, correct? That the energy
there's anomalies. There's one anomaly that got pretty famous like 10 years ago. They found a supercrystal that actually has negative. What do you call it? It actually absorbs and dissipates within itself all the energy, which is crazy. But
I mean, it's still possible the energy goes somewhere else and they just can't find it. But yeah, and that's the only thing that exists with that trait. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, and it's very hard to come by. Like, you need a super laboratory just to make a little bit of it. Yeah.
Oh, wow, dude. I mean, like, could you fucking imagine, dude? I mean, I guess you could say it's possible it dissipates and goes to the quantum level. But again, I'm an idiot, so I'm just speculating stupid shit. But
and those documentaries are made for everybody. So I'm not saying they're made for idiots. I'm saying they're made for everybody.
I'm just saying you are filthy. You know? Yeah, no, of course. Of course.
And to be, because like the semantics and everything the guy said, it's very important. And when he's talking, when they're making the documentary, they're not as they cut out things that he said and all that stuff. So
yeah, exactly. Like I get it.
Look into the scientific.
I hate that. Like even as someone who would love to make a fucking documentary, like I can't stand like that Michael Moore way of going about things. Pardon me. Yeah. I think if you have something that's worth sharing and it's the truth, you don't need to embellish, or rather you shouldn't embellish. And if you do, you're a fucking asshole. That's what I think.
Well, but they have to get attention.
I get it. And it's fucked. I get it. And as an artist, that is fucked. It's fucked that has to happen.
Right now, the way
it actually doesn't happen. Listen, hold on. I got to say one thing. If something is that good, if something is good enough, it doesn't need to do that. And I'll stand firm by that. But go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah. Because people need to get funding. And how do you get funding? Either you get some catchy words in there, like quantum. The word quantum is so overused
Sure, I'm sure it is, dude. I'm just gonna put on my quantum
realm.
underwear. Oh,
Where
look,
is
a
this
quantum peach.
realm, really? Where is it? Like,
I think it's time to go to quantum work. Are you really wanting to get quantumly physical, Olivia Newton-John?
It's like either you do that or you make numbers. So if you have a research that brings numbers, then you're going to get funded. So the way that public fund, because here in Brazil, the best universities for research, unlike what our president said, they're the public. We have public universities, and those are the ones where the research is. And
that's a good thing, right?
They get private funding for research and everything, but most of the funding is public. So how does that spread? Well,
I see. Okay,
where the numbers are. So you have these awesome researchers doing research on social issues and on
and they have to play the game for the greater good. It's fucking unfortunate.
And they get no funding. So if you're a researcher, you're probably not going to get not going to get a sponsor or a scholarship. Get paid to just do your research if you're not bringing numbers. So you have these really complex studies that don't get enough funding, and then most of the funding goes to the people that are working on labs with rats, because they bring numbers to the table, And it's not that their research isn't as important, but they're the ones that bring the most.
It's really unfortunate that society is like that, dude. Like politically as well. You know what I mean? It's like I truly believe, and I hope this isn't the case, but like to get to like the president, let's say, like you have to get your fucking hands dirty. In some way or another, you have to compromise your own integrity and your own system of ethics and morals. And I mean, look,
or be somebody that doesn't have any,
or be 1,000%. I'm talking about that 1% in politics that initially has that vision. That's what I'm talking about. The 0.00001%. The 3 people out in the world that actually, want to do this thing for the right reasons. And they're out there, but like, it's an intriguing thing to me. Like I heard this story about this war veteran from like World War II or World War I, in fact. I forget which one, but he was heavily decorated. He was a fucking war hero. And he went into politics because he wanted to change things for the better. And I think something like, and I'm butchering this story, I'm pretty sure, but I think something like a year later, like he bowed out and he told his friend, he's like I can't do anything about things. Like I'm powerless. Like it's its own behemoth kind of thing. And I fucking believe that. And it's like all this, all this sensationalism out there is just fucking, it's overwhelming and it's polluting everything. And it's you've also got these kids that are born into these times right now where they don't know anything else but this crazy fucking world we live in right now. And let me tell you something. I don't believe I'm like that dude who's like, get off my lawn back in my day. I think we are actually in a fucking crazy time right now. And a lot of that has to do with that pack mentality. Let's castigate this person. You know what I mean? Let the person without sin throw the first stone. There's none of us. We're all fucking sinners. We're sinners. We're dirty sluts and sinners. But I think it's very dangerous, especially like a big concern of mine is the kids, dude. Like the kids coming into chat and like dropping the N-bomb and so on and so forth, and not really. I understand kids fuck around when they're younger. You know what I mean? I used to fuck around too, and so on and so forth. Like I get it, but I think especially with social media at our disposal and stuff like that, really if these kids, it was funny because someone said kids are sociopaths, and it's like, I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I said it.
But
I said
well,
it.
Did you? It was great. It was great. And then someone
Yeah.
else is like, they're only sociopaths from 2 to 4. Like, I get it.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that was
But like,
me.
it's so fucking funny.
That was
But like, here's the thing.
I
Like,
can
what
tell you
I'm realizing through my own experience is it's a lack of empathy at that age, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, people aren't born
empathy
empathetic.
develops.
Right. It really does. It really does.
That was done by this group called Berger and Luckman. They study kids and their development and and they come up with the two stages of socialization. So you have the first one, which is inside the house. So you have your mom, dad, maybe a sister, brother, maybe grandpa, grandma, and maybe an uncle or whatever. And the way you socialize inside there, which is like, so you're the kid, you're the little kid. So you're learning. So mom says something on the phone and then you repeat it. The kid repeats it completely out of context.
Of course. Of course.
And it's just absorbing. It's the sponge state.
Right. So
just absorbing and mimicking.
Right. So they haven't learned. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I don't want to make this a lecture.
No, not at all. I talk a lot, dude. So you know what I mean?
And
like,
if you let me go, I could go on for days also.
Sure. All right. Well, okay. Well, in that case, what I was, yes. So it's a lack of empathy, but it's also like, the thing about racism and dropping that N-bomb and stuff like that is you're making a judgment about a person based on a general trait, color, but also other things that or whatever going through the person's head. And it does fucking hurt. Like that, there's no ifs. That's what fucking hurt. It hurts.
It's cultural.
And I think
what they're doing, I think, is they're questioning the social norms. And
you're absolutely correct. And they're fucking around, right? But what I'm saying is like, I wish. I think if some of these kids, like they're 11, they're 8, whatever, like if some of these kids like actually really understood like how hurtful it actually was to other people, like they just absolutely wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Man, I learned.
But like, here's the thing: this is
not to be a trolling idiot when I was like, 20.
Right. Okay. So okay. So fair enough. But I think it's up to us as older people. I think it's up to us as like I'm 45, dude, and I feel like it's up to me to like spread that a little bit because, dude, I do know like some people come in sometimes and I think their philosophies change through experiences that older people have had, because ultimately it's like benefit. I've been uncomfortable my whole life. I want other people to be comfortable. I want them to grow. You know what I mean? I want them to grow through discomfort also because that's how I've found the most growth. You know what I mean? But
if you're mature, well, you're in a position of power there. So people, I agree. See your maturity, and they're like, okay, maybe what he's saying is true, and maybe I shouldn't be this way I am, either consciously or subconsciously. So
sure,
when you question something and do that, then you're helping. By not,
I'm also the asshole who says what you're thinking. That's what I've been told my whole life. But like, so here's the thing, though, in that regard as well, is that these kids or whomever are acting with impunity, right? There's no punishment for the things that they're doing. And in the real world, per se, like Los Angeles, you go up to a black person and drop the N-bomb on them, you're getting knocked on your motherfucking ass. And if you're a kid, your dad is getting knocked on his motherfucking ass. So, there's consequences, right? So my fear is this lack of consequences with these kids being basically indoctrinated into a society full of this fucking sensationalism and all this other just fallacy and bullshit. Like, what does that do to a child's psychology? Am I overreacting at this? I don't think so, because I think these are a lot of the formulative years. And it's a little bit about like, I've heard that, you know, a lot of times like homeschooled kids are a little bit different because they were homeschooled. I'm sure there's exceptions. I'm sure maybe that's not even the prominence. Right. So, and that's what I had heard. Right. So it's just like even something like that. Right. But like these little fuckers are acting with impunity on the internet. What does that do to their psychology? Which leads me to one more thing. And then I want you to talk to me about that. I believe that like the young generation always rebels. It always rebels no matter what generation they're in. I did in the 60s. It was the hippies. You know what I mean? Like there's always rebellion. And the kids are doing it now. A lot of them are misguided and saying fucking stupid ass statements like all cops are bastards. I mean, at least say most or something, you know what I mean? But you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. Hang on one sec. Go see the night. Hold on. Go see the Night Stalker documentary and tell me those cops aren't good guys. I mean, look, nobody's fucking perfect. I'm sure they've done, you know, shit here and there, but those were people that wanted to help other people, you fucking asshats. But what I'm saying is this, since
is corrupt, if the way it's structured.
Let me just finish this thought. So since children rebel, teenagers, young kids, 20s, blah, 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 rebel, my hope is that in like a decade or another generation that the children see the ills of like social media and shit like that and rebel against that and, you know, kind of bring themselves as a generation a little more back to nature maybe or something, not like all hippied out or stuff, but just really seeing the detriment of what some of this stuff does. That's what I'm hoping for. Who knows? It's probably a behemoth that's out of control and that will never happen. Definitely the masses will already be entrenched in it. Like you look at it. Twitter is just kids. And then the adults take those traits and now everybody's fucking crazy.
Yeah, because the demographic that's most lucrative is from 8 to 15, I believe.
Interesting.
So if you target that audience, you're gonna make millions. That's how Bieber happened, Justin Bieber. That's how
he's also talented though.
He is, but he wasn't.
Really?
Man, if you're, I think like his first hit was Autotune. To me, it was Autotune, and he was being guided by very talented adults. Like Usher,
I mean, fair enough, but he's also like he's strikingly good looking too, and that's always a plus, you know.
And he was a model. He wasn't a singer. He was a model. But man, if you're singing every day of the week for 2 years, you're gonna be good. Like
probably. Yeah. I think it still depends on the person, but yeah.
Oh, there's a little bit of talent and whatever, but if you train a lot, you're gonna be good. Like
I used to want to be famous. Now I got this disguise here in case it happens. Well, really, my like, you know, I think about this quite often. Like if I had made it in the entertainment industry like I wanted with my psychology, especially back then, being in all the pain and the drug abuse and like all that other shit. Would I have made it?
You would have went on a spiral at one point, you know, a downward spiral.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did without a big career. You know what I mean? Like really, like that's a lot of that led me to this point. A lot of spiritual pursuits and wanting to better myself and like big time, like realizing that, wait, I do play the victim. I don't like that. I feel like that makes me weak. Let me work on changing that, but still being kind to myself.
Yeah, I played the victim too a lot. I didn't have the prospect of being like, famous or anything. But because my family is moderately successful, so I had that pressure, and I thought, well, I was born into this family, you know, it's gonna happen to me, no matter what, and then it didn't, because I didn't do shit.
Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah. How old are you?
That's okay. I'm 29.
Yeah, dude, like that's still like, and you're so bro, you're so smart, and you've got such a good heart, man. Like I think there's gonna be amazing stuff happening for you. That's okay, dude. Life is a fucking practice, bro. Life is a practice. the best thing we can do is not beat ourselves up, right? Don't fucking cater to your own bullshit. But, you know, we excessively beat ourselves up. We got to actively be kinder to ourselves. And that takes practice, and it takes cognitive, you know, therapeutic stuff we can do for ourselves sometimes. Yeah. Contrary action, being of service to others.
I'm in therapy, and man, therapy is awesome, really. If my advice, if you're going through anything and you have the means of going to therapy, do so, because it doesn't have to be expensive.
I think it can very rarely hurt. Like, I think it's usually good. My experience
change the therapist.
Right. So that's what I wanted to say
right now.
Yeah. Okay. You know? It is okay.
So this guy, man, seriously, I had. He was like so expensive. He was like, it's kind of hard to imagine currency in another country, but he was like $600 for one session, and here it's usually $250.
That's fucking nuts.
He was good. Like, he was good.
Oh, really? Interesting. I thought you were going to say the opposite.
No, he was awesome.
You do get what you fucking pay for a lot. Right.
Yeah, you did. Like, I had I shouldn't be saying this though.
Well, take a second.
Something very famous coming out of the office one day. You know, somebody very famous.
Oh, that's fine. If you don't give the name, we're fine.
Yeah, I think we're fine.
Yeah, bro. Okay, so again, like, especially with the medical professions and stuff like that, like, you do tend to get what you pay for, right?
She's somebody you'd know, like.
Forever,
if I told you who it was, you know.
Whatever.
And you're
my shrinking. My head is shrinking. My head is shrinking.
What the fuck?
That was Shakira, man. Oh wait, no, she's Argentinian or some shit.
No, she's Bolivian, I think.
Is she Bolivian? She's fucking
Colombian.
hot.
Colombian. She's Colombian. Not Bolivia.
If I had a rich
the other country with the good cocaine. Not
yeah,
Bolivia.
there you go.
Who knows? We get the shit now.
In my experience, therapy.
Let me just. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Please, no, go finish.
Let's just finish that topic that we were on before we go ahead. Because of the kids, right? And what happens is, in the second socialization phase is where the kid goes into school and starts talking to other kids, and that's where empathy really shines.
Sure.
Because
yes.
You have somebody
parenting is huge
your
too.
level. Yeah, parenting is half of it.
It's kind of like the conduit to that, because, you know, they come back and they're like, well, this happened and this happened, and it's like, well, you know, you shouldn't have pulled the girl's hair, and then he's like, oh,
yeah,
not my kid. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's in the second stage where you're like you're in the same level, and you understand that you can do things to other people also, because in the first one you were receiving, and now you're receiving and giving. And that's where you get empathy. That's where you develop your tastes. And
the only way it can be empathetic is if you have experienced it.
Yeah. Well, not exactly, but you can mentalize an experience also.
I know. I had this discussion with someone recently, because initially I thought empathy was something that you could only experience if you had experienced a similar thing, and sympathy was relating to the experience, even if you haven't, like, you can only be sympathetic if you haven't gone through an experience or similar or something like that, right? And then I think I was proven a little bit off with that.
It's you're kind of on point, but empathy is actually you emulate the other person's feelings by looking at them and by hearing what they went through. You actually emulate the person's brain.
See, okay, so sympathy is having, you know, concern, but not experiencing those emotions. I got you. Fantastic.
No, sympathy is independent of experiencing the emotions.
Interesting. Like, okay, fantastic. I appreciate that.
I'm not gonna make a Jew joke to Filthy because he's Jewish, you know?
Yeah.
That's sympathy.
Yeah.
Empathy is like, oh, okay, I'm
not gonna make a Jew joke to Filthy because it'll hurt him.
Filthy, and I felt hurt, you know?
Right.
Because it hurts when the joke bombs for the wrong reasons, you know? Because
I'm open to riffing on everyone personally. I just you know, there's a lot, because like here's another thing too. Like when I do those puppet shows and shit like that, like I'm waiting to get fucking canceled, you know, because of the Asian accent and stuff like that. Like I find that shit funny, and it's like, dude, I'll make fun of, you know, what's her name? You don't think this woman's Jewish? Iris? You don't think Iris is Jewish? You know what I mean? So it's like I make fun of everything, and it's scary because, you know, these people, they make these issues about themselves. It's like, I'm just doing characters. And like, part of me is like scared people are going to be like, look at this guy, look how fucking racist he is. And you know what? I've come up with these fantasies in my head. I'm going to stand by my guns. I'm going to be like, look, it's a fucking character that I find funny. I find the accent funny. Yes, I do.
And it's not a person. And the person being Asian, your fucking puppet being Asian. Like,
well, I mean, like I'm going through with the accent and stuff like that, and maybe I am being it, but that's the thing. That's the like the way I see it. I don't see it in a way that's like it's not my intent to be hurtful to anyone. It's my intent to make people laugh. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
And if you do offend somebody, listen, hear what they have to say, and if it's bullshit, then there's that.
No, 100%. And part of me is afraid. Part of me is afraid that they're going to prove to me that I have been. Yeah, right. I know, but no. Part of me is afraid is that they're going to prove to me that I am being insensitive, and that overwhelms the comedy aspect, which I don't think it will. To be honest with you, because comedy is pretty high for me.
I think
and it's
so
like
silly.
It's
so silly. If somebody takes it seriously, I think it's their problem. And I
those fuckers are out there. Look at this kid who fucking tried to take down Trader Joe's, dude.
But they didn't take him down.
No, and can we just give a special shout out to Trader Joe's right now for standing by your guns and not cringing to the fucking overt politically correctness that is a plague. But hold on, don't let me misspeak. I think a lot of the PC stuff is good. I think we are evolving societally. It is a process societally to gain more tolerance for our fellow man, more empathy and stuff like that. So I think that's good shit. But there's a fucking line when you motherfuckers make it about yourselves because you think you're doing the right thing, but you actually have no conception because you have such little empathy that you're causing more division because you're making things separate when they're different, but they don't need to be in that respect. Fuck you. Congrats, Trader Joe's. That's why I went shopping there today.
And because their products.
They're amazing. Well, that's another thing too, right? It's like they're cheap, and it's like, so I don't have time to cook right now. Like, you know, if I cook, it'll be on this day, which is like my day off, but I always have shit to do catching up anyway. I'm enjoying right now. Like, it's hard and it's a lot of work, but like I'm really pursuing my dream, and that just makes me so happy. But I don't have time. So I don't have time because I'm producing and writing and thinking of different shit for the stream, and definitely shit outside of the stream. So they have these products that are like, oh, I'm going to have some chicken marsala. And you just throw that shit in the oven. It's bomb. It's almost like restaurant style. And these things they're pretty cheap. The price has definitely gone up. But Trader Joe's, it's like
competing against restaurants and rotisseries. They're not competing against
well, so that's true, but the initial reason why I brought it up is because I think that's just actually a good business ploy, is making things as cheap as possible and giving people access, like Amazon. That's why it's such a great, you know, like, why go anywhere else? Like, these fuckers are going to charge me this much. I'm just going to get this through Amazon, and it's going to be delivered through my door. It's just, I think I think humankind is inherently gluttonous, and that greed, or greedy rather, and that greed really pollutes people into making bad business decisions. Get the business. The way you get the business is to make exactly. It's not just greed.
Sins. All the capital sins.
Yeah. Speaking of capital sins, choose your character. Those fucking nutsacks, dude. Oh my God. They're out there. It's fucking crazy. The closeted ones are the worst, you know? The ones actually casting the ill votes and like, you know, just these people are fucking, it's so crazy. The people who rioted in the Capitol, the people who stormed the Capitol in the US, like these people are fucking not only crazy and fucking dumb, but my God, like fucking hell, like they are out there. Yeah, they're mental too, man.
I bet you $100 QAnon started in 4chan. I bet you $100.
No, it did. I did the research. That's exactly what QAnon is. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there you go. There you go. I didn't bet, motherfucker. So what QAnon initially, it's just so
troll.
Yes. So it was apparently this guy that like worked inside and like, you know, it was a child pedophilia thing. And then of course these guys would be like, oh, of course. They took her down.
Yeah. And I think most of the things is, I mean, I'm not trying to bash on anybody here, and
fuck those people, dude.
Making
those people can
but
eat small
what
ass.
I think happens a lot is there's a troll on 4chan, and then because there's a lot in 4chan, there's a lot of trolls, and there's a lot of people with autism, and people with autism, they don't have this this thing for
I never thought of that. That's really interesting, right? That's interesting.
And irony, and that's I'm not saying they're stupid or anything.
Of course not. Most of them are pretty fucking smart.
Yeah. There's
my buddy thinks I'm a little bit on the spectrum.
I have a lot of friends. Yeah. Well, you can't if you think you
I don't think I am, but I don't know.
Nothing degrading about that.
No, man. Look,
and some of them are conservative.
I'm happy with the creativity that I can put out there, man. It's a dream come true. So if a part of me is autistic helping me do that, fuck. Thank you.
And then they spread it and they repeat it in 4chan.
Right. That's really interesting.
And then the bigots and the conservatives, the extremists, they see what those guys posted, and then they propagate.
This is just your personal, the things you've thought about of how it transpires. That's really fucking brilliant, dude. I gotta be honest with you, man.
There are a lot of autists in 4chan.
Sure.
I know that.
Oh yeah. In the Filthy Few too.
Yeah. And I have this friend who's studying psychology. This guy is huge, man. He's like 6'4", 6'5", and people think he's a
shout out to your friend with a big dick.
Oh, my friend. And they think he's psycho. He's a freaking psycho, but he's just autist.
Oh yeah, man. I believe it, dude. It is tough sometimes because it's like, you know, we all judge, you know, and as I say, it's what we do with the information, and a lot of this information. When we're judging someone, we're judging ourselves, right? Yeah, and because we're putting ourselves up for comparison.
The narcissistic principle, which is
Cartesian skeptics and solipsists all around.
When you see something that you like or you dislike, you're actually looking to the mirror. So if you dislike something, it's something in you that you dislike, and if it's something you like, it's something new that you like.
Right. So I think it's interesting to think about the things that we dislike and try and kind of turn that to a positive and you know, internalize it and be like, okay, this is why I don't like this. Let me be nice to this person and see what happens. Exactly. And stepping out of that
What-
shit. Welcome back to the Filthy Few Podcast, episode 1 with our special guest, Raf.
Hello. We've been talking for over 2 hours. Right?
That's good. So love is an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
Love is something that we know exists, yet it's intangible, which is
abstract.
pretty interesting.
You can break it down into dopamine and serotonin.
Can we though? Can we act? I mean, theoretically we can, but we haven't been able to do that, have we?
It's reductionist. It is a way, but it's a reductionist way. So you're reducing.
What are we doing? A balsamic?
Yeah, we're making pasta. Oh, basically,
but
it actually comes from that, you know. A lot of the words in psychology come from the alchemists. So you have sublimation, and it comes from chemistry. Actually, before I was studying psychology, I studied chemistry. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, so I thought I would study, you know. I liked everything, so everything is chemistry. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the trippy thing about love. Yeah. The trippy thing about love is how powerful it is, right? Like it's an actual powerful fucking force. Whether I mean, like, does it transcend our emotion and become this other thing?
So depends on the way you look at it, because you can look at it, well, first as purely chemical, and then philosophically, there's the 4 types of love.
What's that?
Philia, which is
she wasn't dead, I swear. So you were saying there were 4 different types of love.
Yeah, and I was listing him, and I was butchering so hard. I think it's a good thing I got cut off.
That's okay. Fair enough, dude.
But there's like different types. So like, there's the love you have for your family. There's love you have for friends. There's love you have for everybody, and there's love that you have for like romantic love. You know.
Yes, and I could say that's pretty accurate for me.
Yeah. And that's philosophical. But then what Freud said, that it's actually everything is basically comes from love, and this comes from wanting to like erotic love, because and then he goes into what is erotic, because Eros is
what are you doing,
Cupid.
stepmom?
Yeah, he did basically say
stuck.
that babies want to fuck their mom.
I'm stuck, step Raf. Well, it is interesting because look at the trends in porn.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's totally Oedipal. Is that the right word?
Totally.
Oedipal.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So. It's the pussy.
Pussy, octopussy, dun 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 dun.
And he was ostracized because he walked into a room full of the highest scientists in Vienna in the early 1900s, and he said that babies want to fuck their moms, and people were like, this is insane. They walked out. Everybody walked out.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't that the norm? You know what I mean? Galileo. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he was fucking. I think was he the first that gave out the heliocentric model, and like he tried to tell it, and they were like,
yeah, he was the first person in Europe to try to publish it,
right,
make it
right,
because the people that were, what they say is, people who were out at sea already knew that. They were like, okay, doesn't make sense that this is flat, you know. People actually went out to sea and started looking at the stars.
But I'm talking about the solar system that we rotate around the sun. He was castigated. Like, I think he almost fucking died for like bringing that up, dude.
I think he died for it. Actually, he did die.
I think he didn't, but I could be wrong.
Oh,
fuck! Wait, hey, who's the dude who got his fucking nose cut off and wore a metal nose? That was some Italian dude. I forget. Anyway, so yeah, and you know, it's all interesting stuff to me because like I personally believe I'm obviously open to a lot, but I personally believe from like a scientific standpoint that everything is like science. Like, we evolved to perceive the sense of beauty for something that was going to benefit us as a species and nothing more than that. You know, that's what I believe. I would love to believe differently, but that's actually what I believe. And
yeah,
I hope and I wish there's more than that, but that is really what I believe. But it's in that respect. Yeah. In that respect, it's so fascinating to me that we can look up to the stars and you know, if this is all evolution, if you know, all evolution got our thought process to this point, well, we look up to the stars and we say, hey, that's fucking beautiful. I perceive this something, it gives me pleasure because aesthetically I enjoy it. To get to that point, like, boggles my mind. Like, why do we have that? And then also, you know, as a segue, looking out into the stars and saying, hey, are we alone? I don't want to be alone. Like, what are those about scientifically?
Yeah. So it comes down to the Narcissus principle, which you look up and you see yourself, really, because all you see is yourself.
I told you you'd be a fucking star, Filthy.
And you see yourself among the stars, and then you say, well, I'm here. There must be somebody out there, you know. When it comes to that, it's that simple.
Again, science and spirituality coinciding, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, we are stardust.
Spiritual sciences. There's a term, the spiritual sciences.
Really? And that's not just new age hogwash?
Human.
It sounds like new age hogwash.
It's the human sciences, what they now call the humane sciences.
Interesting.
Sociology and yeah, all the humane sciences.
So a psychic once left a flyer on my ex-girlfriend's car, and I picked it up, and it says, "Hey, you know, your first question is free." So, so I call up the psychic, and you know, thank you for calling, blah 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 blah, right? And I was like, what is my first question? Right? So, like, I mean, it's obvious, just, you know, like, whatever, many different levels. And she's like, this is a church, you can't call here. And I'm like, what is my first question? If she was anything, she would have been like, that was your first question. I would be like, I am intrigued. You know what I mean? But my goodness gracious, what a bunch of fucking charlatan pieces of shit those people are. You gotta think that people that like come up off of other people are, I would think that in real life, like, they're still miserable. Not because they're necessarily doing that. Like, these are pieces of shit, right? So not necessarily that they're doing that, but just who they are psychologically. Like, I'm sure some of them are happy.
Their own bullshit, you know. Most of them, I think, believe their own
about
bullshit.
Being psychic. No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I would say 99.9 of them don't, as my guess. And then there's that 0.01 that's fucking crazy. That's like, oh, you like those fucking those bullshito motherfuckers, dude. They're just throwing shit. And an MMA fighter is like, hey, I mean, it's $10,000. I'll fight you. And the guy's like, I shall throw my chi up your anus. And the MMA guy's like, make your move. And then the Tai Chi master is like, oh. And then the MMA goes, poof. And then the Tai Chi master goes down. And the MMA guy's like, give me my fucking 10 grand, you old cunt. So some of those guys believe their shit for sure. I mean, and that's the thing. If you're built,
it's kind of complicated because
I don't believe it.
It's actually
and I'm a martial artist.
Some of it is pre-science. So chi means air, and the way you breathe where you're fighting it.
Okay, hey, fucking excellent. What I'm talking about is this mystical energy that apparently like does shit. You know, like is Reiki that it's not it's bullshit, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, dude.
Like
I mean, it's like, come on. Well, I mean, it's like, come on. I believe in psychosomatics, but but that, you know, I mean, it's, come on, like, well, then it's just purely placebo, which means it does not work. That something else is working.
And hey, if it works for you, man,
that's good. And I don't look. I don't want to create any fucking haters on this thing, man. I'm just saying, if you believe what you believe and you believe that, that's fine. But if you're someone who knows that they're in the wrong and you're taking advantage of other people, like, I don't like that. And I'm going to speak on it. And that's the way I feel. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to disrespect anyone's way of life or anything like that. It's like, fucking prove me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a fucking fucked up arm from a street fight. Fucking heal that shit. And then I'll be like, yes, Reiki works. You know what I mean? But it's like, don't talk the shit. If it's really infuriating.
Yes.
I just want to know about the truth about things. That's all, dude. I'm the first person. I always played a magic user in D&D. I couldn't do anything else until video games. Okay. I'm the one who wants to be casting lightning bolt. Trust me. But I, as a pragmatic person, I just want the truth, man.
Because a lot of that stuff comes from back in the day where we didn't know shit about
1,000%. 1,000%, dude.
And they actually touch on the truth, but then they deviate from it when they try to explain other things, and it comes down to over explanation. Really.
Well, that's what Joe Rogan talks about, dude. To be honest with you, he's like, these people that are, you know, doing these bunk martial arts. They're like, okay, so what's going to happen is your C4 vertebrae is going to invert quickly, which will cause a spasm up your synapse and exposing your cerebral tissue to the bare blood. It's like,
yeah,
those fucking assholes too, dude. That's So
the guys way back in the day talking about chi, they were trying to explain the universe.
Interesting. You're so smart, dude. See, I never. Right, and it just
bring it to today. You have to like say, okay, what about this is true? Because if you think about feng shui, if you use feng shui on your house, man, shit is gonna get organized. You're gonna have a harmonious place where
interesting
have less
for sure. Stress. But it's something else at work, right? The feng shui is bullshit.
It's airflow. It's basically
not even that. Just psychologically living in a maybe a minimalist, beautiful looking place, and you know, maybe facing a certain way brings a certain aesthetic of the sun in there. So it's psychological, but there's something else at work. Like what I'm saying is, okay, yes. So the feng shui might work, but let's make it a psychological thing and not a magical thing. That's my only thing, right? Like if there's no magic involved in it and it helps our psychology, okay, great. And that is almost magical. but like call it like it is.
Yeah. That's where I stand too.
Yeah, but, it's just these new age motherfuckers, and a lot of them are just batshit. Like a lot of
it comes out. Of Freud, and then Carl Jung. he went a lot into the mystical things. Yeah, he worked for he wasn't himself a Nazi, but he worked for Nazi Germany for a couple of years, and then he ran away.
Yeah, interesting, man. It's
and they kind of fed off of his thing for.
But it's interesting because I only think in contemporary times, and I'm like, these fucking idiots. But you're right. I mean, this was like, she was a way to explain certain things that were happening, which were actual energy, even though they're not coming from a magical, mystical place. Like you said, breathing and energies in your body that, but I mean, it's like,
there's this thing that comes from God knows where, that sometimes it pushes me, which is the wind, and it brings rain sometimes. Like, what the fuck is that? And I can make it with my mouth if I blow. It's like, whoa.
Wait, let me get this straight. You can make rain with your mouth? They can sure use you in Pakistan. Wait, I'm channeling the Capitol Stormers. Sorry about that. Erase it from the record. Delete.
And the rain song, I think it works. Because they do it around a campfire, and a campfire brings dust to the air.
No, that's silly.
And
oh God, you were trolling. Oh God, thank
God. No, really. When there's dust
in
the air, it brings precipitation.
But on the level, but you need. I get that, but that's not going to come from human breath.
No, it comes from the fire that they did. It's taking moisture from the wood and raising it up.
Yeah, but that's not going to create rain, dude. I'm sorry, Raph.
It's not going to create out of nowhere, but if there was a chance it was going to rain, it increased a little bit,
Right, but my guess would be it increased it such a nominal amount that it wouldn't affect anything. That's my guess. But
like 9 times out of 10.
So, about in Back to Love, as you've heard me say many times, my own philosophy that I've come up with, and I'm not going to take credit for it because I'm sure it's been said before, but legit, this is just something that I've developed on my own, is that honesty and communication is the secret to any great relationship, whether it be familial, platonic, or romantic. Yeah. And that's at least a two-way street, right? It's a really cool philosophy. It's just a really cool thing to have if you have someone else in your life that's willing to put their ego aside, for the prospect of developing a stronger relationship. That's another thing that I say too, is that vulnerability is strength, and when we're vulnerable, we put our ego aside with the prospect of getting hurt by another individual, and that's why it's strong. Right. So if we put our ego aside for the prospect of a greater relationship with someone else, and it's usually not going to work because people are just too fucking, they're not, a lot of them just are not built like that, Yeah.
And a lot of them are just built like that, but in a way that's very different from yours. So you're not compatible. It's not that they're bad.
Fucking compatible, dude. That's what my first fucking serious girlfriend would say. Like, we were definitely in love. I know I was head over heels, and I know she was in love as well. This was my first love. And she'd be like, but we're just not compatible. I'd be like, what does that mean? And she'd be like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, but it's love. And she's like, sometimes love's not enough. I'm like, that's not true. I was so young, dude.
Yeah. If she says you're not compatible, then, well, fuck you,
Yeah, it would, but like, again, nah, but no, it was true. No, but it was true. Like the I mean, that's the thing, is like, It's like, dude, I've been single since I had my kid, which was fucking almost 6 years ago, right? And it's like I was a person that was so insecure. I still am, but I was a person that was so insecure that, like, if I was in a relationship, I'd still front a bit. You know what I mean? Like, I was authentic, I was me, but I would still front because I was insecure. I wasn't sexy enough or good looking enough or funny enough or whatever, right? Yeah. And that really, you know, propelled me in all these past relationships that I had. So in all fairness to them, I wasn't really being my true self either. It wasn't like a manipulation. Maybe it was actually manipulative. But you know, being single now and you know, coming to the point psychologically where it's like, look, here I am. This is me, bare, take it or leave it. You know, I would love to have that with someone else, you know?
Do you want to know what Freud said about that?
What?
It's going to take a little bit to get exactly where I want to, but I have to explain like all the stages to get to the stage that's important to the topic.
Feels like a doctor telling me about to die.
Well, yeah, basically. But what happens is love develops, right? It's not something the way we feel it now is not the way we felt it when we were born. Because when we were born, he didn't even see. Like, the baby starts using his eyes at two weeks. So before that, it's experiencing.
We feel love.
The theory is that the baby only experiences himself. He doesn't know where everything is, or really what the fuck is happening.
Right.
He only knows that it was in a warm, comfy place, and now it's cold.
Right.
There's discomfort, and then it starts to notice that when he's hungry and he cries, there's this thing that comes into his mouth and then gives it milk, right? And the theory is that actually believes that by crying,
quick shout out to titties.
Milk. No, it's making milk.
Interesting.
Like the titty, it's himself.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And then, so it's all linked. So it's called the oral phase because it's linked to the crying and the milk. And then later,
that's when they suck their thumb.
Speaking. Yeah, they suck their thumb and they start to learn how to speak. So it's all in the mouth. And once that's over, it concludes when it starts to walk, and then it starts to know what's right from wrong, from basically when it wants to take a piss or wants to poop. So when you poop in the floor in the middle of the room, you know, if you don't have your diapers on, you're gonna get
roll around in it and call your lady. Yeah. Oh no! Oh, sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
You shouldn't do that. And then it sees the parents like disgusted and all that stuff, and then it learns how to control the inner movements, and then so it's like, oh, good job, you when the potty training is going on, it's like, oh, good job going into the potty, and then it's like, okay, it's right to pee here, it's right to poop here, but it's wrong to poop anywhere else. I'm slightly butchering this.
That's
because of time, because I could go on for days.
Brevity is best right now.
Yeah,
because we still got some more shit to cover.
Yeah, and then really the anus is the most complex muscle in the body because it's shaped differently. hyperbole. It's not straight. It kind of looks like those
I don't know about you, sister, but my anus is straight.
That means it's open all the time.
Only for the right guy.
Because it does happen when especially in old people, when it's like tired.
Get out, dude! I'm not there yet, you fucking assholes! God damn, dude!
You said. I mean,
I do have. Okay, hold on. Let's make it. Okay, well, but hold on. Let's agree on one thing. I do have diverticulitis. Okay, that's an old person's disease. Hey, but Brock Lesnar fucked it too. Got fucking fucked by that too. God damn it.
But anyway, let's get back to it. And then what happens is, it starts to get rewarded. It like the rewarded for going potty in the right place, right? It's like, yeah, good job, you know. And then it starts to do things for approval.
Yes.
So the phase before was the anal phase. So it was the oral and then anal. And then now it's the phallic stage, where that's where the Oedipus complex comes in, where the boy seeks approval from the mom and tries to compete with the dad for attention, and the girl wants attention from the dad and starts competing with the mom for attention. That's the theory. It's one of the critiques is that it was very sexist, but you gotta.
I can see that, but there's definitely like Oedipal. I mean, look, man, like the Greeks fucking wrote about it because it was a thing. Like that's just the way it is.
They didn't write specifically about psychology. They wrote it as.
But that's how they described their psychology. Like I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if that was like intended to be blatant back then.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
But it was much more subtle. It was
definitely more subtle, but also, you know, you got to think like back then, like they're discovering discovery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like everything and like how, you know, the name atoms were made by Aristotle or Socrates or Plato. Wait, who was it? Socrates, right? No.
Yeah, and then later, Carl Jung would use the archetypes.
Right.
Psychology, and the archetypes are Plato, purely, or Aristotle. I don't remember. But.
So, yeah, it's interesting shit too. Speaking of Plato and Edgar Cayce, if you're familiar with him at all, my dad is a big fan of Edgar Cayce. And, you know, the skeptic in me is like, dude, he worked at a fucking library and he said he slept on top of a book and would retain the information. The guy's full of fucking shit. But I mean, that, and I would bet on that. But I will say there's some fucking, and my dad's still devout believer. And there's some compelling shit though, right? Like there's a lot of shit that's like, okay, this guy's a dickbag, dude. Like, you know, like the chiropractic, the whatever, the homeopathy, all just like lots of like cracked weird shit. But one thing that's interesting is we have a friend of the family whose name was Seth, and he was a veteran, and they just he knew my dad from the army, and so they were friends, and you know, we called him our uncle and stuff like that, and his family got into a car wreck, unfortunately, and his wife and his children died. And you know, my dad was talking to him, and he's like, "Oh my God, do you remember?" He had told my dad prior a story about he got his palm read by Edgar Cayce, and Edgar Cayce said your family in the future will be taken from you because in Atlantis you cheated on them with a whore. And he was like, okay, whatever. And then after that, he told my dad, he was like, because I think he had already told my dad that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like a trip like that. There's stuff, it's really interesting. You can have like devoutly, if that's the right word, atheistic people go to Israel who are like raised Jewish or whatever. Like this has happened vicariously through friends of mine that were complete atheists, went to Israel and came back just full on Jew. Right?
Yeah, there's this weird thing that happens in Israel.
That's what I hear.
Here Brazil is Catholic and Christian.
Right.
It used to be mostly Catholic, and now it's mostly Protestant. But there's a lot of people that go to Israel as Christians, and they go batshit insane over there and think they're Jesus. And they get lost in the desert.
Dude, that's nuts.
Actually a problem. That's actually
You know what? That would make such a brilliant premise for a fucking comedy, dude.
Yeah,
that would make such a brilliant.
It happened to me. I told you about that time. The time I took good acid in the festival. I went on a road trip for like 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
So this awesome festival with lots of music. It wasn't those electronic music festivals, It's like live music for 4 days straight from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. Live music every day, and lots of workshops and everything. It's the coolest place. And then, so it was nighttime, and then I took the biggest dose of acid I've seen, really. And it was the good shit.
Yeah.
So,
well, the good shit is technically LSD 25, right?
I don't know about that, but I just know it was the good shit. That's how.
Trust me, motherfuckers. The good shit is LSD 25.
So I was there with like a group of friends, and all of them but one was Jewish. And then I thought it was nighttime, and there was this illuminated place, and where it wasn't illuminated, it was just like pitch dark. And I'm not used to seeing that. I'm from the big city, So my trip was that it was a UFO. We're on top of a UFO.
Oh, wow.
And that I was Jesus. And then I reunited with my friends, and I was like, it's St. Peter, St. Paul.
Yeah, that's a trip too, because you're really well read, and you're really smart too. So it's like, I'm sure
the thing was I'm grounded. I had these thoughts, and I was like, what the fuck are you thinking, really, man?
Right, and that's the intellectual. That's one thing that I'm glad about.
Yeah.
I had a bad edible trip. Edibles never worked on me. And one night, this was actually a couple of years ago, one night I just ate like 250 milligrams. And I was like, why am I getting all anxious right now? And then I looked over to the empty gummy bear wrapper, and I was like, oh, I guess edibles do work on me. Bro, I was like, literally, I was in an anxiety attack for 2 weeks. It was horrible. Got me to stop smoking weed for a while too. Didn't last that long, but So, okay, so we also, to wrap it, we wanted to talk about the meaning of life.
Yeah, I didn't finish talking about love, man.
Okay, well, go.
You were in the anal, and then we got in the phallic, but I didn't really talk about the phallic state. We got sidetracked, and let's just wrap this up. Really.
Okay, well, let's segue. We're gonna segue to just the meaning of life real quick. Okay, we're not gonna spend too long on this, but to me,
I was getting on the subject, man. I was getting onto where most people are right now.
Okay, well, do that then. Let's go.
And then we could segue from that into the meaning of life. Sure. It really is like love is a good way to look at it, really. But so we, at that point where the Oedipus thing is, because for those that don't know, Oedipus was an orphan that got told he was gonna kill his dad and marry his mom, and so he ran away. And then what he didn't know is that he ran into his real parents, and what happened was he married a queen and killed the king. Actually, he killed the king and then married the queen, and then he found out that the queen was actually his mother. Yeah,
and he killed his king, the father, on the road. I think he was just like a brigand or some shit.
Yeah, and he had no clue was the king, and it was actually his father, and then he married his mother. And so it's about this competition. It brings to, well, what do you want to do? Why are you the best? You know, how can you be the best? How can you get that attention? So you start doing things for other people so you can get the attention.
Sure.
And that's where, when you talk about ego, you're talking usually about this selfishness. That actually is
sure.
It's where you get the sense of what you are. Really. It's when you start to think, okay, what are the things I'm good at? What are the things I like, and etc. And then this transitions. This is usually at 5 years old, 5, 6 years old, where your kid is at. So, and this transitions into the transition phase, when you start to do things for others just because it feels good, because the way other people feel bring you joy, you know. And
building of empathy.
And then transitions into the general phase, which is kind of, some say it's unattainable, because you're always in sometimes some type of a struggle of doing things for others because it feels good, or is it the attention that feels good, or is it the feeling of power that feels good? Because the previous phase is the phallic state, which is the phallus is it's the penis, the penetrator, you know, the stick.
Right. Absolutely.
Sword,
absolutely.
It penetrates the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then what the phallus does, when it penetrates, it creates around it an antiphallus, which is kind of like when you pour, if you imagine a cup of water.
Is that like when I thought that pussies had teeth?
Yeah, filthy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So if you imagine like a cup of water that's been frozen, if you take out that water, that's a phallus, right? And then the antiphallus is the cup.
It's the cup, yes.
Yeah. So that's where you have the genital state, where you have this genital feeling of, because when you have good sex, you're both feeling almost the same thing, or
sure, absolutely,
complementary things, because
okay,
yeah, and that's the feeling when somebody else's pleasure becomes your pleasure. It's the same thing. It's not okay. They feel good, so now my ego is satisfied, because that's phallic.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about ego, actually, we're talking about a regress state of the ego, where you're back to being 5 years old. Because the ego is actually a good thing. It's your sense of self, of who you are. If you lose your ego completely, you've gone insane. We call that...
no, I fucking think that's absolutely untrue.
Yeah, it's schizophrenic. No, when you don't know who you are, when you're...
Okay,
Semantics.
yes. It's right, okay, fair enough. If you don't know who you are, fine. But if I'm just saying, if you relieved your ego with still the base ego there of identifying as I am, I think you'd be pretty fucking enlightened.
When you say ego, usually, psychologically, you're saying a regress state of the ego.
Okay.
But people say that because, first it's technical, and second it's just too damn long. You just say ego. Yeah. So when you say that, that's what I understand. I'm not like disagreeing with you in the chat because
I understand
the ego is a bad thing, because actually the ego is a good thing. But when we talk about ego like casually, you're talking about regress state, where like we talk about the Karens and it's actually a bloated ego that's frail within itself. When you're not sure of yourself, so you inflate yourself to being more than what you are, so you feel like you have some sort of power.
Yeah. Okay, listen, we gotta focus and get to the love part and then start with the meaning of life, because I only have like 20 more minutes.
Okay. And that's love, really. When you don't see
right.
You're that's love, because
it's like for me with my kid, I want more for him than I want for myself for the first time in my life. And it doesn't mean I don't love my family and I haven't loved past relationships and stuff like that. And it kind of makes me feel selfish that this is the first time in my life I can definitively say that I really want more for someone else than I want for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. It's not because you want, you don't want to have to carry your kid around like a medal,
No,
it's like,
dude,
I made this. Look how awesome he is. I made him.
For my kid, like I would sacrifice everything.
Yeah, that's true love. So it's
exactly, and it's like exactly. It's a fucking it's a powerful thing, and I agree with you. Like it's pardon me, it's definitely there in that capacity. Like that's real love. That's real fucking love. And it really it's fucking, I think it's just fantastic how we do that for each other. Like, isn't that remarkable on the macro?
Yeah.
If you look at civilization as it is, and let's just say like as one symbiotic unit, that we do that for each other, obviously to propagate the species, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And not, so when you say put your ego aside and communicate and all that stuff, psychologically what you're saying is actually be in touch with who you are and know who you are, and then do things for others, because not to reaffirm who you are, not to reaffirm your
most people, when you tell most people put your ego aside, they're gonna get it on the level where most society gets it. You know what I'm saying?
So like, I'm not correcting.
No, I get it. And I understand, I understand where you're coming from as well. It's just in my experience, ego pops up when I don't get what I want.
Yeah. When you feel it,
and that's
when
bad
you
ego.
feel it, it's because it's inflated.
Right.
That's what you call it. It's inflated.
And then it's just
life.
So okay,
Go ahead.
So in regard to the and I'm sorry if I came off as brash. I when I said let's speed it up, because I am fucking enjoying the shit out of this. This is just amazing. Okay, practical. So well, we gotta, because I know Will. I didn't want to come off as offensive or brash. That's the last thing I want to do with someone who's doing this with me. Sometimes
you have to be brash, man.
Yeah, but we're having a good time here. I didn't want to. I didn't. I was getting frustrated, and it didn't have to do with you.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
Anyway. Okay. So in regard to the meaning of life, my personal philosophy is to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That's my personal philosophy. I know that not everybody shares that.
Fucking narrow.
But dude, honestly, man, like the meaning of life, I mean, happiness has got to be a big factor.
Yeah, but what is happiness?
For me? Well, for me, let me tell you why. Like, even though it's cliche, I definitely want to leave this place. And there's so much ego with this, and I'll tell you, I've always wanted to be special. Okay, like that's my thing. Like that's the truest, deepest you're gonna hear from me. Like, for whatever insecurities or whatever, I've always wanted to be special. I've wanted to be different than other people in a special fucking way. And, you know, honestly, I'm sure there's other people that have wanted that too, but it's been something that my past, okay, fair enough. But, you know, from my past, that's like really dictated lots of fucking choices I've made. And a lot of it is just so much based in fear and insecurity and stuff like that, right?
And ego. Yeah.
And ego, exactly.
Now we're out of Freud, so ego went back to the old me.
Right. So so it's like there's a multitude of shit going on with me, but I also know that I am the type of person who would objectively I've done it before and I'll do it again, who would objectively do someone good for someone else just to do it. And I believe there's people out there with that. And I'm not saying I'm always like that, but I'm saying I've experienced it and I know I'm that type of person. Like I'm the type of person to do something good for someone else just because it makes the world a better place. That's me. Yeah. So what my meaning of life is even though it's cliche, is to leave the world in a better state than what I came into. And I believe the way I do that is to utilize my talents as like an entertainer and someone that can banter and so on and so forth to like, you know, influence change for other people so they can make choices which better their lives. And I think a lot of that you could do through art as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like that's for me, like that's my meaning of life. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like also I want to be fucking rich. I want to know what and this is again, like here comes the ego. I want to be fucking rich. Beyond ego, I would love a wonderful fucking relationship beyond ego, just to share this experience with someone.
You're a capitalist.
I know, but it's also I was raised in a rich neighborhood without the money. Yeah. And that's something that, you know, because, you know, my friends had excess and stuff like that. And it's just like I was lacking. So that formed a lot of shit too. But what I'm saying is,
I can relate to that. I lived for a while in right close to you, really, in San Diego. Mm-hmm. I used to live right by UCSD, and I went to school in La Jolla. So I lived like it wasn't the ghetto, but it was people there didn't have a lot of money because there were students.
There's fucking hoods in San Diego, man.
But it wasn't the hood. It was really nice, but it was just like young people, a lot of students. If you went like a couple miles down the street, there'd be kind of sketchy, but like, and I studied in the La Jolla, and La Jolla is like huge, $10-15 million mansions. With the view of the ocean and all that shit, and I remember laughing. I know it's terrible, but when there were landslides because it rained a lot, and they built the mansions on a hillside, atop of sand. So
you should fucking laugh at that shit. These sumptuous motherfuckers. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you know, if there is a landslide, yeah, but that's not gonna happen. Fuck you. It happened, motherfucker, and you deserved it.
Beautiful houses that with like architecture and all that.
Well, that's also what we do. We enjoy laughing at the haves. The have-nots enjoy laughing at the haves, and that's very, very prominent in society right now. Right? Yeah. Like we'll reciprocate to people that make us feel good, like famous people that make us feel good. We'll reciprocate and want to give them love, but
have-nots,
as far as the sensational
laughing at the have-nots is also very funny too.
Right. So I mean, exactly. It goes both ways for sure. But I think people's, you know, meanings of life is different for everybody. I think even if you're an evil SOB, you're questing for happiness, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily joy, but happiness, right?
What is life?
Or maybe not. Really? That Night Stalker documentary fucked me up, dude. That dude was so fucked up,
I'm gonna watch it now.
Dude. Oh my God, bro. And this trauma, I was wondering why I was putting it off. Because I was motherfucking 10 years old in Los Angeles when that was happening. That shit traumatized me, dude. And then watching it's really good. It's very good, but it's very effective. Just brace yourself. It's pretty hardcore, but like it's pretty hardcore. Like think the illest shit you could ever think. That's what these guys was.
Does it work in the Epstein documentary?
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. Like 100-fold.
I was almost puking on the Epstein documentary.
Yeah, I would not necessarily suggest this then because he went after kids too.
Okay, but
that's the one that really, yeah, that one really, like, I almost stopped watching it, dude. Like,
okay, I'm gonna
this motherfucker,
watch
dude.
it.
Yeah, well, it's. I'll tell you one thing. It's produced, directed, and edited absolutely brilliantly. It's a fantastic fucking documentary. It's well done in every facet.
So, like, back to the topic.
Yeah, meaning of life.
Right? Yeah, there's this theory. It's called oh God.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Let me just we're speaking for like 3-4 hours.
It's all right. Well, what's your meaning of life, dude?
Right now,
I mean, I think that's the eternal answer, though. It's not. There's not one meaning to life.
Phenomenology is what I was looking for. Because right now, my meaning is I want to graduate and I want to get a master's, and then I want to get a doctorate, and then I want to move somewhere else. That's
right. So what's the meaning behind like all the doctorate stuff and so on and so forth? Because you're not telling me any meaning of life. You're just telling me what you want to do.
Yeah, but that's the thing. To phenomenology, what we do is, no matter how you explain it, like words don't cut it, you know? And we live in the moment. So we talk about life, like this big thing that we actually don't experience.
Yeah, but that sounds like a cop-out. Like you definitely have... Like you don't necessarily need to have like an explanation for the meaning of life, but you have stuff that makes you tick, that makes you drive, that gives you motivation to do something. Yeah. That's what I'm asking about. What is that shit for you?
Yeah. But you're like personally, right?
I mean, because I think that's actually the ultimate equalizer, is that there is not one meaning of life. You could make a scientific argument from, like, let's say the macro observing civilization and saying, oh, the meaning of life is to procreate. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever.
Oh,
but
it is an endless discussion, really.
It's an endless fucking discussion, exactly. Yeah. But what for you
can get to one thing that's gonna explain how people explain the meaning of their lives. Can you understand that? Did I make it clear?
Say that again.
How do people with their own lives create their meanings for their lives, right?
Because I think most people are just floating in a stagnant lake, homie.
Oh yeah, but still, they still bring meaning to that lake.
True,
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and yes, they all have. They all have. It's true. They all have their own meaning. I mean, it's like you can make the argument that the meaning of life is love.
Oh, it can be. Yeah, it's part of it for sure. Yeah.
It's definitely part of it. It's a driving force, dude.
But when you make like
symbiotic with the development of humanity.
But when you say the meanings of all the people's lives, then it's of human life itself.
And I think that's what the question is, but there is no answer to that. Like that's not the answer. Is it comes down to the individuals. We're individuals.
But how is it? But how? That's the.
It's different for every person.
There are many answers to that. Yeah, but how is it different? And how is it alike?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Well, it's all no matter what about the self.
Story. You can write your story of your life and how you want it to go from now on, and that's a type of therapy. You can do that.
Absolutely. Making a 5-year plan and shit, dude.
Yeah. And
I mean, I believe in
people.
I don't believe it's anything crazy like The Secret or anything like. I haven't read any of that shit. Yeah. I don't believe in that stuff.
Because man, if you think about something hard enough and
that's the thing. You're gonna subtly be doing movements toward that anyway. Exactly.
Yeah. And the important things are the movements, not the thought itself. Really. Because if you want to fly, man, you can think your whole life about flying and not do a damn thing, or you can work and get an airplane.
Exactly. No, it's
pilot, or a helicopter.
Completely.
Or get a drone, but you're gonna do shit.
And it's hard, dude. Life is hard. Like getting through these hurdles and obstacles, ultimately it makes you a stronger and better person, which is fucking fantastic. But it's uncomfortable and it fucking sucks. And I think it's a big thing is finding the difference between getting debilitated by all that and moving forward through the discomfort, realizing that you're gonna grow.
Yeah.
And that's something that only really, really started affecting me and I started utilizing that only a few years ago, dude. Like I honestly feel like a newborn, bro. I feel like I've left so much of the tortured past behind and found, like, I'm still up and down, but I gotta tell you, man, like not to plug my own show on my own show, but but the stream has changed my life profoundly for the better. It's just, I'll get into that in another podcast, but
it's brought new meaning.
It's brought so much new meaning to my life, dude. Like, and how my brain clicks it up and can incorporate it with entertainment. It's just a dream come true, dude. Fucking dream come true.
The phenomenology
of
Heidegger phenomenology. What they say is, there's, because in English you have this little problem with the word to be, because there's this distinction of being like, how can I explain this? Like, do you know Spanish?
Poquito.
A little bit.
Sí.
Do you know ser and estar? There's a difference.
No.
Because like ser means who you are, kind of, and estar means how you are.
Okay.
So if you're hungry, you're not
That's
hungry
how you are
all the time. It's how you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're hungry, right? Like on occasion you're hungry. But I am hungry all the time, so I am fat. I'm not saying it myself. I'm just
I know.
Just an example, So if you are fat, that's how you are. But you consider yourself fat, so you're like, okay, I'm 400 pounds, I'm 5'2". Okay, I'm fat,
All right, so
no matter how much muscle you have.
I gotta segue. I gotta ask you, why are the fucking Brazilians the dominant fighters in the world? And they will, you know what? The European, I don't know if you follow MMA at all, but the Europeans are definitely coming up now. It's really interesting how these things work, but I don't know if you're familiar with like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, stuff like that. But you guys fucking brought it. They came out from Japan, taught you all.
Yeah. We have few sports. We have soccer and jiu-jitsu, basically. We have volleyball too.
Capoeira as well.
Yeah, but that's not a sport. It's more of it's a fight, but there's no competitive capoeira. There's performances, though.
Yeah, dude, no shit. Do you know what happens when capoeira gets fucking... Do you know what happens when capoeira gets fucking... it gets competition-wise? I've seen motherfuckers get knocked the fuck out with like hundreds fucking mile-per-hour wheel kicks and shit, dude.
Yeah. It's either that stuff. Or you're getting knocked out because
well, you know, it was disguised as a dance because of slavery.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, of course, I know that.
There's
a bit of it.
Oh, nice, dude.
Jiu-jitsu, but it's kind of like a dance, but it's more like the way you train it. It's more.
Jiu-jitsu is a chess game, dude. It is.
Yeah,
it is. I studied for a few years, and it's my coach would tell me I'm pretty shitty at it. My coach would. I do want to study again because of my fucking flexibility. For those of you who don't know, I put both legs behind my head and spank my own ass on stream for you guys. Anyway, I got tapped out in the yoga position. I got tapped out in the lotus position, and my coach was like, my homie neck cranked me, and my coach was like, I've never seen anyone get tapped out in lotus before. I was like, okay, that's fucking great. But yeah. So what he would tell me, I learned a lot from that guy though. He's really good. What he would tell me was that on the master levels, that it's just someone capitalizing on someone else's mistake. And when you think of a game like chess, that's the same thing, right? Like practitioners are so fucking good. You're just waiting to capitalize on someone's mistake.
Yeah, if you see the top players in chess, once they're developed, they're doing like little movements, like moving the queen over one place and moving the bishop one place.
Yeah, like Rocket League 2, right? There's a finesse. There's a patience, like fighting in the fucking ring. You know what I mean? The veterans aren't going to make these like, you know what I mean? They're going to be like, oh, I've been here before. Let me wait through that real quick. Same thing when we play Rocket League, dude. It's like, it's like you just, that's another thing too. Like you can just wait for someone to make a fucking mistake because they're going all fucking crazy and you just tap it in.
Yeah, and baseball also. There's
all of them. All of them.
There's like the batter, the pitchers are so good right now. They're waiting for the pitcher they're falling out the balls.
Right, it's evolved.
One down the middle.
Yeah, it's evolved. I'm sure.
Hit a bomb. They hit a bomb. They don't want to ground out, so they just fall it. Yeah,
dude, this shit evolves.
Yeah.
So, dude, thank you, because that was like really fucking riveting, bro. And
let me just close it. I have one thing to say though.
Yeah,
just one thing. It's like 10 minutes tops.
No.
No. Okay.
No, but you can say something briefly.
Okay. So like life is made of moments, right? And those moments, how you can conduct those moments, they bring meaning to it. So, but you have to you yourself bring meaning to it, either willingly or not, or else it has no meaning, or else life is just a void of the future that's what's to come. So you have to, like, on the spot, you think about what you're doing right now, and it's usually for something in the future, right? And you're waiting for something there. But if you're always living in the future, then the present has no meaning.
Exactly.
So you have to bring meaning to the present and also like enjoy the ride. You know, that's it. Okay,
1000%, brother. No, you didn't. No, you're right. It's about being in the moment. Dude, being in the moment is extremely fucking important. You're absolutely right about that shit, man. But it's a journey, and it's like, dude, I'm still far from being there, but I'm getting closer and closer, which is rad. And just to wrap that up, in accordance with that is the more you're open to the serendipity of the universe, the more you will actually observe it. Like that's my shit too. And I hope that's not like hokey and new age and shit. Like that's just my experience. Like it's just things that it is almost like magical.
New age. Yeah. And I believe
new age. Anyway, dude, I love you. Thank you for doing this today, man. This was really fucking spectacular. I'm gonna have you back as well. I've got to think of, a next guest because yeah, man, it was fantastic. Anyway, I'm gonna save this bad boy. Yeah, dude. And thank you for joining, guys. If you want more of this shit and stuff where you'll lose your fucking mind with interactive comedy, sketch comedy, toe puppet shows, and just crazy adult streamish, swimmish type stuff, twitch.tv/thefilthyjester. Dude, that was an amazing first podcast, bro. I appreciate you, mate.
If you liked anything I said, if you want to go deeper into the theories and everything, please do so, because I barely graced it. Like, I didn't even talk about the id with Freud. I barely talk about phenomenology, and there's a lifetime of
good shit out there.
Of good shit. Just
all right, Mr. Raf.
Being done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, my boy. That was fucking phenomenal. And until next time, peeps. Much love.